Coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, and I can't get this stupid thing to operate the way I want it to. Let me see. Is this got any better? I don't know, slightly. Okay, so today's Shabbat, 18th of May, 10:07 in the morning. It's going to be 95 today. Joy, huh? There we go, but it's not going to stay up. It's going to drop back down again to cool the temperatures. Let's take a quick look. Tomorrow and Monday it'll be 94, 95. Tuesday 93, 94. And now at the end of the week, Friday, it's going to go back into the 80s. And, you know, it's going to be a reasonably hot week. It's not going to go over 100. So I took my tomato juice and I put Tabasco, the hot sauce in there, a few drops, and then I put the Liam Perrin Worcestershire sauce in there, a few drops, and it tastes just very, very similar to the Tabasco mix. I think it's a Bloody Mary mix. There's no alcohol in it. And it's probably about a sixth of the price. So, and I can get all I want. Tomato juice is readily available. So it's really nice. It's the Worcestershire sauce that did it. I need to fool around with garlic and pepper and celery salt and stuff like that. It's plenty good the way it is. Oh, it's delicious. Okay, I love it. Let me go into the chat and put my posts up before you guys post, if you don't mind. It'll be fast. So I get up, people are posting already, so let me go into the chat. Okay. I'm almost done posting. Okay. I'm done. You guys feel free to post. We got sound and picture people coming in. I've learned to not do that red light therapy stuff until after I do the broadcast, and then I do it at night before I go to sleep. So that tends to work really good, and I sleep with that stuff like, oh man, sweet sleep, wake up, lots of energy, you know, it's nice. It's nice. Okay, being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise, okay? There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So what we're going to do today is we'll start off with some intel, as the preppers call it, about the wars in Israel, and we're going to talk about Egypt and the Houthis and stuff. And then we're going to talk about America a little bit. We'll talk about China, Russia, some Bible prophecy, and then we'll go into Satan. We'll do a deep dive into the scriptures about Satan, integrating it in with spiritual warfare and things like that. And I think it'll be a good session. And so what's going on? Well, I told you that Egypt was turning against us. And one of the motivating reasons is because they've been helping Hamas destroy us through Gaza. That's their role in this charade, is to help Hamas. And we found 50 tunnels going into Egypt. Now, can you, in a rational state of mind, without drinking a bottle of Johnny Walker or taking drugs, believe that Egypt did not know that there were these tunnels? Of course not. Of course they knew. And Netanyahu, the village idiot, uses them to negotiate with Hamas, who they're supporting. And the people in Israel have not entirely woken up to their government. They will. Not yet. Some have. Qatar is another enemy of ours, housing the real leaders of Hamas in Qatar in five-star hotels with their protection and blessing, while they manage the war on satellite phones or whatever in Gaza. And we use them to negotiate also. So how stupid can we be? The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Most of Israel doesn't fear the Lord. No wisdom. Netanyahu reigns. Lebanon now has stepped up to 70 rockets and missiles a day at us. And, Netanyahu's okay with it. He's fine. I don't see anybody entering Lebanon or them doing much about anything. It's just continuing every day. Now, they don't usually cause much damage, and they don't usually hit much or anything like that, but it's pretty stupid. Okay? So now they're starting to talk about the day after. And Gallant, the Minister of Defense, who's not the brightest light in the harbor, is saying, well, if we put a military force in Gaza to supervise this new government, which will not be Hamas, we're going to lose soldiers. Gee, Gallant, what are you, brain dead? What would happen if we didn't put soldiers in? No, in a matter of 2 to 6 weeks, we'd be taking all kinds of missiles, rockets, everything else, incendiary balloon, everything else all over again. We'd have to go back in. This guy thinks that every Israeli is a complete moron and is going to buy his lies and his stupidity. They did a poll, and Gantz and Netanyahu are very close. Like, Gantz would have a 3% lead, and that's just a poll. That's pretty close, and I don't think Gantz is going to try it. Gantz is making stupid statements, too. Okay? The pier that America put down there is operational. Hamas is going to be attacking it. You just watch. And Hamas had the guts to come out publicly and say that we're not meeting their needs. They need 7 million meals a day in Gaza. Do the numbers work? They do. There's 2.5 million of them walking around in Gaza, 3 meals a day, you're roughly at 7 million. Okay? Now, let's be conservative and say that a meal with shipping, with these inefficient governments, they have to transport all the way over to Israel. Be very conservative and say it's $3 a meal with the shipping and everything. Got to bring it in on a boat, a plane, and then truck. Okay? That's $630 million a month to feed these people. Now, we're not done there. We also have to send them cooking fuel, propane, in tanks. They hook it up to outdoor stoves, right? We also have to send them regular fuel for vehicles, generators, and things like that, right? We also have to send them clean water. So if you're looking at little bottles of water, I think you'd have to send 7 million bottles of water a day. They each drank, a bottle with a meal, they'd get by, I guess. With the shipping, that's probably going to cost $1 a bottle. Conservatively, could be $2 with them. And then with the gasoline, and now comes medical equipment and medicines. You know how expensive medicines can get. They're giving medicines them for free. They want to spend $1 billion a month to support these haters of Israel, terrorists, murderers, rapists, kidnappers, everything else. Why doesn't somebody go to them and say, you want humanitarian aid, give all the hostages back. You don't give the hostages back, go fly a kite. There's nobody talking up for your humanitarian aid. It's a war crime. Does any nation, United States, UK, anybody talk like this? No. No. They took hostages of children, old people, civilians. It's a war crime. Most of them walked into Gaza alive and they're dead now. That's a compounded war crime. Let me tell you what Israel started to do that would have ended this war quickly, but Biden did not at all want to see Israel have a victory. Not the old Kissinger doctrine. He did not want to see Israel win because Satan did not want to see Israel win. So, Israel was cutting the cell phone towers and they couldn't get a cell phone signal. They cut the internet. No internet. They got a lot of the reporters out of there. The water got cut off. The electricity got cut off. And they were running out of food. What would have happened? They would have surrendered. Well, there's a counter argument to this that has some validity. The early days, Hamas was in the tunnels and they had food stashes in the tunnels. And they could have survived while the people were starving. Now, maybe. They went out of their way to steal the food from the UNWRA and the fuel and the medical. So they might not have had that much food here, okay? Might have had enough for a week or 2 or 3 or something like that. They definitely didn't have enough for a long time. Okay? Would have brought them to their knees quickly. Nope. The heathen nation serving Satan didn't want to hear anything like that. Nope. Not acceptable. Feed them. What they didn't understand, the scripture said, you feed your enemy, you pour hot coals on his head. Did the hot coals fall on the heads of the Gazans? You bet. Are these dumbbells still keeping it up? Yep. Now tell me, these people that say Satan knows the scriptures, he doesn't. Maybe he read them, he doesn't believe them or act on them or anything like that. So it's just it's so insane what's going on here. So what's going to happen? We're going to continue the Gaza attacks. I put videos up on my Telegram of Congress in America, the House of Representatives. They had some members of the House that were both women screaming and yelling at each other and insulting each other on the TV. The caption I put in my Telegram post is "The House divided unto itself shall not stand." America is extremely divided against itself right now. Trump is doing a great job of helping that. Trump just said now that he's got Biden for the debates, he wants drug testing for Biden himself. They'll never do it. They'll never do it. America has not brought troops into the pier yet, but they have every intention of doing it. They're probably waiting for Hamas to attack the pier and then they'll do it. There's a high probability Hamas will damage the pier. They don't like this pier thing because it's run by America and they can't push America around like they can Israel. America's got permanent veto power at the UN. They can't push. There's nothing they can do right now. So they don't want the pier there. And they don't want soldiers coming in there through the pier. If you're going to bring soldiers, you could bring tanks and armored personnel carriers and all kinds of weapons. And they're afraid they may get suppressed by America. Egypt is now super embarrassed for supporting Hamas, which they conveniently do not recognize as a terrorist organization, but the world does. So Egypt is sitting there with broken eggs hanging off their face and their hair and everything else. They look really bad. So they joined South Africa in filing genocide at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. And they put more troops on the border near Rafah on the Egypt side. Now that's dangerous for Israel because we all know that Egypt's going to turn badly against us and lose. But they said it's to prevent Gazans from escaping into the Sinai Peninsula. But, so in other words, they want to help the Gazans, but they're not going to help them go to the Sinai Peninsula, see? Gazans are there to drag Israel down and they're not allowed to leave. Now, So there's going to be action against Israel. It's not going to be physical military action that I could see right now, but it's going to be diplomatic action against them for this Hamas thing, and they're going to have to go through the motions and insist Egypt make provisions for this not to happen again. And this is just shining them on. They're not going to pay attention to it. They'll agree to it, and then they'll just do it again if they can. But what Gallant left out is Israel has to keep troops in Gaza to make sure nothing comes in from Egypt. I don't know how many troops they're talking about, but I would say 5,000. Probably 40 or 50 tanks, lots of Humvees and things like that. Then if Hamas tries a rocket launch or sniping or something like that, 100 soldiers could, rush to the area and root them out. And we could constantly look for new tunnels. The Palestinian Authority moron, who hasn't stood for election in 15 years, Mahmoud Abbas, said that it's Hamas's fault for this war because they did October 7th. I mean, he's right. And he's anti-Hamas. A house divided unto itself shall not stand. Okay? You hear that a lot. So putting him in charge of Gaza is getting stupider and stupider. He doesn't want it. He's afraid, of course, they'll kill him and his family and kill his whole government. So he's not that interested in it. I imagine Hamas is probably hid in Gaza in excess of 10,000 rifles and pistols and hundreds of anti-tank weapons and hand grenades and other things. Okay? At least 10,000. So they could dig these things up and find them when they want to. There's a chance they'll have a breakdown, and Israel may interrogate some surrenderees and find out where these caches are or something, but it'll be hard. So we're hearing nothing about shutting Lebanon down. Targeted assassinations against these Muslim terrorists have never produced anything, have they? No. They've never stopped the fighting. All they do is heat it up. Do they create psychological damage to the leaders of these terrorist organizations? Of course they do, but it's not enough to doing it to be meaningful. It's a waste of energy. Do attacking physical structures belonging to these terrorist organizations do any good? No. Nothing. What does work? Standard warfare. You attack and neutralize the enemy. That's the only thing that's going to work. Lebanon launches missiles, then we bomb the places the missiles came out of. It's better than doing nothing, but is it stopping anything? No. It's not working. Russia has launched missiles 300 miles off the coast of California already. And in addition to that, it's reported they have submarines in the area, which I told you they would do to protect their fleet. Poland foreign minister or defense minister told the people to get a bug out bag ready in case of war. Latvia told they published a survival guide for war and is distributing it amongst their people. No, that doesn't mean Putin's going to attack the NATO countries or EU. It means they think Putin is going to do so. That's all it means. China recently dumped billions of American Treasury notes. Would you say they did that because they see an attack on America coming pretty quickly? I would. Gold is doing very nicely. Let's take a look. It was over 2,400 yesterday. Let's see where it is now. The government's trying to suppress this and push it down. Let's see if they got it down yet. They're going to work on it. Oh, I didn't tell you that. They got it. Let's see. No, it's creeping up. 24.15. And silver is performing admirably now. 31.40. No, it's wait a minute. $31.48. They're not messing with the silver too much, the governments. It's the gold that they want to suppress. The silver is a secondary consideration. See, there's what's called resistance levels with precious metals and stocks as well. But the big resistance levels were 2,000, and it's past that a while ago. Then comes 2,500. No, 2,500 is not a massive resistance point, but it is a resistance point. So when it breaks 2,500, which could be next week easily, it's going to trigger a lot of buy notices for people. In other words, they put standing buy orders in to the brokers. Basically, they're dealing in paper, gold, and silver. They're not taking possession, which you only want to take possession. You never buy it through a stockbroker or anything like that. So they will see a rally, and as soon as the rally starts going, they get a buy order. And then when they buy it, let's say they buy it at 25.05, they're different people. Some will put in a sell order at 26, 27. Some that invest a massive amount, like they bought or they're controlling, 10,000 ounces of gold. And they go in at 25.05 and they'll sell it at, 25.60 or something like that, and make $50 an ounce times 10,000. That's a lot of money. And they might only be holding it for a day or two or three or four. They want to get in and out. Okay? So 25 is going to trigger a lot of buy orders, and it's going to cause a lot of attention to go to gold. And the governments will try to push it back down, and they'll be okay until there's a war or some nasty events, and then it's not going to work. it's not going to be an immediate climb to 3,000, but it'll get there. Depending on the wars and the other problems in the world. Now, when it hits 3,000, that's going to be rock and roll time. It's going to go nuts. Okay? The jump from 3,000 to 4,000 is probably going to be a fraction of the time of the jump from 2,000 to 3,000. And if it hits 4,000, it'll just go ballistic. It'll go 5,000, 6, who knows what. And people are going to try to get in on it. There's going to be a shortage of available gold to buy with physical delivery. It's not going to be out there. And if, let's say, gold is selling for 2,600 and you want to buy it physically, you're probably going to have to pay 2,650, 2,630, maybe 2,675. You're going to have to pay a lot over. Because there's going to be some people are going to always want to sell the gold. They're going to say, I want to take profits. I don't want to take a chance. I bought it at 1,600, at 26. I'm happy. And then just take profits. And, you know, there's always an amount of gold available, but the guy selling it to you, the coin dealer, the jeweler, or the pawn shop, isn't going to have a completely abundant supply of the stuff to sell. So the people selling it are going to want spot or more. They might want spot price plus 20, so then he'll sell it for spot price plus 70 or something like that, you know? And that's the way this is going to go. Now, silver is kind of rallying, but your big resistance point in silver is going to be at $50. And when it hits $50, it's going to trigger a similar thing with gold at 3,000. And to see silver climb from $50 to $100 is nothing. Nothing. It'll go fast because there's not a lot of dollars. And people are going to like silver because, you see, gold, if you're a survivalist or a prepper, which there's no shortage of in America, they don't like the idea of a 1 ounce silver coin or a bar. Why? Because when everything fails, they're planning on bartering with the gold. Correctly so. And when gold's, let's say, $3,400, what are you going to buy for $3,400? You know, you got to take a hacksaw and cut the gold in half and in quarters, and then, even then, it's a lot of money. So, what some of the ones that are prepping are going to want to buy is the 1/4 and 1/2 ounce gold coins, which I think increases the premium over spot. But then you could take your 1/4 of an ounce gold coin and, you know, it's much easier to barter with that. You're looking at maybe a $900 value, okay? With silver, and that applies to the bars too. With silver, it's not that important because it's not going to. I mean, could we see silver go to 800 an ounce or something like that? Yeah, I would think if gold went to $4,500, $5,000 or something like that, which it easily can, you know, silver would be well over 100. Would it be up to 800? It might be, but I don't think it would stay there, but it might. It would be frantic. People just want to grab it and get on the gravy train, you know? So the king of barter isn't going to necessarily be Tylenol or Midol or Tampax or eye drops for red eyes or things like that. It's probably gold and silver, which is the universal. People say that things like Tylenol and ibuprofen will be very valuable. There's not going to be a long window of time when America falls apart, believe me. It happens suddenly, fast, in a day, in an hour. So there's not going to be a long period of time in this, but gold and silver can transport with you easily. Let's say you have to walk in the ocean out 25 feet to get on a boat to go to one of the ships at Tarshish, and you've got Tylenol and ibuprofen. Well, it'll get wet. It's garbage now. But let's say your gold and silver gets wet. So what? I take showers. This thing's all silver, and I take showers with it all the time. Doesn't bother it. Yeah. Gold too. It's not going to do anything. It's weighty. The thing with gold is it weighs a lot more than silver. I'm sorry, silver weighs a lot more than gold. But anyway, you're going to come out with wealth and riches. You don't have to worry like the Israelites came out of Egypt. That's what the scriptures say in the prophecy, and it'll be true. So there's no serious move in Israel to get rid of Netanyahu. There's always people demonstrating and opening up a mouth, but nothing serious. And if you use a vote of no confidence, the next one to come in, whoever it is just going to be cut out of the same satanic cloth as him. Not going to get anywhere. Yeah. When the two witnesses work as the judges of Israel, which they will do, read Isaiah 1, kind of a little bit after the middle of the chapter, you'll see that God's going to run Israel with the judges again and the counselors. That will be a good government, but that's very close. And the idea of changing the government for another one isn't going to mean anything. Okay, it's a stacked deck. You're not going to get a true believer into the democratic system ever. So you got to have a new system, and that's what we're going to have. The world hasn't been turning against Israel as much as I thought they would over Rafah, but give it a chance, I guess. And we'll have to see what happens. Two Palestinians, who they think are terrorists, attempted to break into an American military base, I think in the Carolinas or Virginia, last day or two. We don't have a lot of details about it. It likely could be there were sleeper agents probing the base to see what kind of, defenses they have. I don't know if they got caught. I don't think they got caught. They might have been. Then they'll interrogate them, and they'll probably get to the bottom of it. But that doesn't mean they're going to tell you what happened. So Biden still wants to withhold the bombs from us, and just. Houston suffered from a storm. It was pretty bad the other day. He don't care. Eventually you'll see Washington, D.C. suffer from a storm, I'm pretty sure. Tornadoes, hail, sleet, rain, winds, whatever. They've been, God hasn't put it on D.C. for any time I remember. I imagine their time will come. Okay. All right, let's go to some Bible work now. We'll do Ezekiel 28, and I'll check the chat real quick first. Ezekiel 28, and let me just see what we got going here in the chat. Santa Claus, well, he's not coming here to learn anything, or she, so just dump them. That's a nasty insult. I just block them. Give me dollars, yeah, we'll block you too. Making a mockery of the place. Okay. Silver outpacing gold, yeah, but you need to stop deleting comments. I'll delete that comment. How's that? You need to define that. The people probably don't know what you mean. Silver, percentage-wise, will outpace gold. For gold to go up 50%, it would have to sell at 3,600. That's a big jump. For silver to go up 50%, it would have to sell at 45. That's not such a big deal. That's what I suspect this person meant. So this person's correct, but I don't know if everybody understood what he's saying. I took stock and bonds in graduate school when I was working for my MBA, so they taught us a lot of this junk. What they didn't teach you is that all the markets are fixed, or they wouldn't exist. Every racetrack, every gambling casino, every form of gambling is that way. Now, if you're doing gambling amongst, friends, not with an organization or anything, then it's probably not fixed. But those casinos are not there to encourage you to gamble because they're going to lose. And if you think they're satisfied with the odds, you're greatly mistaken. I used to go travel for my job in the 70s from San Francisco up to Lake Tahoe and Reno periodically. And I used to stay at usually Harrah's Hotel Casino. The rooms back then, I don't know, they were $30, $40, very cheap, and you were able to get a big steak dinner for, back then it was probably about $4 for a big buffet with prime rib or anything. It was really, they were used to give the food away. I was not a believer, and I'd go up there and I'd do my job diligently, and then I'd come back to the hotel and I'd relax, go have a nice dinner. Sometimes I'd see the show. I remember very well seeing Sammy Davis live once. He was a fantastic entertainer. Fantastic. He showed a movie of himself as a child dancing. He came out on the stage. He had a mug this big that appeared to be solid gold. You see, they could spend that money and buy a gold mug and write it off as a job expense, as a prop. That's what Elvis would do with all his rings and stuff like that. So to make that work, all they got to do is appear with the prop in public, on the stage, in a movie, on TV, at a big appearance, anything like that, and they could basically get away with it. And he was able, I don't know how old he was, this was in the 70s, he was on the stage and he just jumped up in the air and clicked his feet together like a ballet dancer or something like that. I don't know, I couldn't do it. Maybe I could at that time, but I wouldn't have made it. It wouldn't have looked good. And he was singing and he was joking. Great entertainer. He had so many gifts, all at the same time for entertainment. But he was an S-bot. He ruined himself, So, I saw other shows. I don't remember all of them anymore. That was the one that stuck in my mind. But I was watching him play I was walking around the casino. I didn't like gambling; it was a waste of time. But you had to walk through the casino to get to places in the hotel. So somebody rolled the dice, and one of the dice jumped off the craps table and went rolling across the casino floor. Well, this guy, one of the croupiers, was running after that frantically to pick it up. He didn't want anybody to pick it up because that wasn't one of the dice that they sell in the casino, used dice. Those are the honest ones they sell. Who knows if they ever use them? This was obviously the way he was frantically running after it was one of the not honest dice, I expect. Then comes the law that you're not allowed to use any photography inside a casino in Nevada. If you do, it would be a criminal act. It would be basically contraband, and you wouldn't be able to use it in court to sue them. How about that? So, do you occasionally come across somebody with great winnings? Rarely. I mean, every now and then somebody pulls the slot machine and it hits, and they get, they could get $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 or something like that. That happens, because the slot machines stand for inspection, and they got to give a certain percentage of the money back, but not much. The casino keeps alive. They like the slot machines, but they like the big gamblers, much more. Back then, you could play dice or blackjack for $1 a round. Now I think they want $5 or $10. This kind of thing. They talk about idiots that come there. They call them whales that spend millions of dollars gambling. I don't know why they do that. I do not believe the casino gives them a fair shake. The casino just is not capable of doing that, and I don't know why they keep doing it. It's ridiculous. I grew up in the Bronx, and I knew they were cheating because when I was in my undergraduate work, I was taking what's called finite math, which is probability theory. And to impress us with this knowledge, they would use cards and dice to show us. See, when you have a deck of cards and you're counting all the picture cards and the tens and the aces, the high value cards, as more of those get exposed during the game, the odds of getting one of those later in the game reduces. And then you realize that there's perhaps maybe more small denomination, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in the deck than high value cards, 8, 9, 10, ace, king, jack, queen, all that, So you can predict your hand that way. That's what the basis of card counting was. The playing cards is not independent trials. The outcome of hand 3 and 4 is based on what happened in hand 1 and 2. So dice is an independent trial. So every time you throw the dice, it's not dependent on the rolls of the dice in the preceding 2 or 3 times. But it's not that easy. The odds of rolling, let's say, the number 9 in dice 5 times in a row is astronomical. Okay? So, these are the concepts they try to teach you in finite math. So I learned all about cards. So I knew some guys in New York that were, Sicilian Italian people, and were involved with mafia people, the Italian social clubs they had at that time and stuff like that. And we all knew who they were, and I was talking to them once, and I said, they cheat in Vegas and Tahoe and all that. And he looked at me and says, yeah, I know, I heard that. I never went there, but I heard that. See? go. Um, so anyway, let's go to Ezekiel 28. All this stuff will be vague memories. We'll forget about all of it soon. It'll just be something we leave behind us, Satan's world, Ezekiel 28. The word of Jehovah came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because thy heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou shalt set thy heart as the heart of God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast begotten the riches and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and thy trafficking, or the dealing, hast thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Therefore thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because thou hast set thy heart as the heart of God, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom. They shall defile thy brightness. See, this is not Satan getting swords coming after him. No, it doesn't sound like it. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Now that's starting to sound like Satan. Will thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God, but thou shalt be a man and no God in the hand of him that slayeth thee? Thou shalt die the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of the strangers. For I have spoken and saith it, and I have spoken it, saith Adonai Jehovah. Behold, the word of the Lord. So that could be, maybe he's talking about, I don't know, some world leader or the beast or something like that. Tyrus, we could look at that word. Let's see if it gives us any insight. The prince or the king of Tyrus. So let's see. Bible, Tyrus, location today. Well, Tyre is in Lebanon, but this is Tyrus. Let's see if that's the same. Tyre and Zidon are the same, but I don't know about Tyrus. Let's keep looking around here. Okay, are they the same city? Unclear, really. digging here. Tyrus seems to be on the Mediterranean coast. I don't know, maybe 40, 50 miles up from the border with Israel. All right, it's very hard to get these facts straight. Let's get back into where I was here. So he could be talking about old Lebanon, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was Satan. I'm not sure. Or the beast. So, Ezekiel 28:17. Thy heart was lifted up because of the beauty thou hast corrupted, thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings that they may behold thee. This is Satan, I believe. Now I'm getting it. It's in Isaiah 14. I'll show you when we finish this chapter. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuary by the multitude of thy iniquities, thy lawlessness. By the iniquity of thy traffic, therefore, will I bring forth fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be any more. The word for terror is perhaps not the way it's translated. It's bala, a calamity or destruction. See, the church people are trying to make you have a fear of Satan here. It's a destructive calamity that will scare the people because it's so corrupt. And this is the ones that know Satan. I told you I saw Satan many years ago in a vision or a dream. It was during the day, so I think it was a vision, and he doesn't look like anything, but he has the power to disguise his look. Okay. So he's looked like he was wearing a dirty grayish smock that came below the knees with some kind of split down a few inches up here. His hair was down to his shoulders. It was salt and pepper, greasy and dirty. And he looked like somebody was 80 or 90 years old. He was disgusting looking. And he was flying, his hands at his side. And then he came into my living room, flying across the Galilee. I had a big living room window that opened to view of the Galilee, and I pointed my finger at him. And at this time, I wasn't using the name Yeshua all the time. And I said, in the name of Jesus, and I was saying that, and I kept, it coming out of my mouth, and he was screeching, and he started screeching so loud that it woke me out of the vision. He's just a liar and a bluffer and a deceiver. He's nothing. Nothing. Unless you give place to the devil. If you decide you're going to let him in, then he can get to you. Again, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Zidon, and prophesy against it, and say, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Zidon. All right, let's look up Zidon. It's probably Lebanon, but let's look it up. It's probably the same thing. It's a ancient city on the Mediterranean coast in Lebanon. No, it's more south towards Israel than Lebanon, so it's different city. But he keeps focusing on Lebanon, and it's curious how Lebanon's picking fights with us constantly since October 7th. What's that one? Let's go. Thou hast, we'll just jump in verse, Ezekiel 28, I'll pick it up at verse 13. When I went to look up the map, it started me back to verse 1. Nice of that thing. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardinus, topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle and gold, the workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. So he's not the Son of God. We're going to cover that later. Thou art the anointed cherub. Now, cherub probably means like an anointed one of God. It's not a category or class of an angel. That covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stone of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till lawlessness or iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled thee with. They have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned thereof. I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thy heart was lifted up, because thy beauty thou hast corrupted thy wisdom. He got prideful. Okay? by reason of thy brightness I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. We'll be seeing this in Isaiah 14. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thy lawlessness, by the lawlessness of thy traffic, things he was doing and dealing with traffic. Therefore will I bring forth fire from the midst of thee, it shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth, in the sight of all them that behold thee. In the sight of all them that behold thee is, to me, referencing the people that serve Satan, because he lets them see him. The other people won't see him. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be any more. Terror is like a bad curse thing or something, you know. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against thy... Oh, here we are. I started back up too far. And say, Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, Behold, I am against thee, O Zidon, and I will be glorified in the midst of thee. And that's Lebanon. And they shall know that I am Adonai, I am Jehovah, when I shall have executed judgments in her, Lebanon, and shall be sanctified in her. For I will send into her pestilence and blood into her streets, and the wounded shall be judged in the midst of her by the sword upon her on every side. And they shall know that I am Jehovah, Ani Jehovah. So Lebanon doesn't have such a bright future. And there shall be no more a prickling briar unto the house of Israel. And that's what they are to us, a thorn. They harass us and bother us. Nor any grieving thorn of all that are round about them, nor any grieving thorn, grievous thorn of all that are round about them. Well, that's going to happen in Zechariah 12 when they all get burned up. That despise them, that they shall know that Ani Yehovah, I am Jehovah, I'm sorry. It says, let's get it right from the Hebrew. Ani Adonai Yehovah, I am the Lord Jehovah. Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they are scattered, and shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen, of the Goyim, then shall they dwell in their land that I have given to my servant Yaakov. Well, with the next great Exodus. And they shall dwell safely therein, and shall build houses and plant vineyards, yea, they shall dwell with confidence, when I have executed judgments upon all those that despise them round about. When he puts the judgments on the enemies round about that have been attacking us. And they shall know that I am Jehovah Elohim. Okay, so we'll tie this together now with Isaiah 14, and you'll see it from another angle, from another prophet. For Jehovah will have mercy on Yaakov or Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Yaakov. The strangers are the non-Israelite believers. or the ones that come and transport wealth, riches, and children of Israel back to Israel as an offering unto the Lord to stay here. They become servants or slaves. Israel shall possess them in the land. Well, the word for possess is 5157. To get as a possession or inheritance. So it sure sounds like a slave to me. I know some of you will be offended, but don't question God. Whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Rule over. The word is radah, 7287 Strongs. It pretty much means have dominion. Well, it actually means tread down, crumble. See how they screw the translations up? They shall tread down their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that Jehovah shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Jehovah hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continuing stroke, that's Satan. He just keeps the pressure on them constantly. He that ruleth the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. Well, the righteous are going to get rid of his servants and his countries, is what that means. Let me see if we can make this a little better here. Let me get this. It might work. Okay. Let me put, that'll block it. I think we'll be okay. All right. Verse 7. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. That's the king of Babylon, is probably Satan with America. That's what I'm picking up here, because now the whole earth is at rest. And they break forth into singing. But that may not be the case. It may be after the tribulation, I think. So anyway, let's not go there. Yea, I don't think that's valid. Let's just skip that one. No good. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fellow is come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave. And the noise of thy vials, the worm, is spread unto thee, and the worms cover thee. This is Satan. Thou, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations, the heathens, For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. So he's going to go over the firmament and pass into the third heaven, he thinks. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, and that is probably Sheol, which is the pit, not the lake of fire. To the sides of the pit, now it says the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the lawlessness of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill but they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. See, they got that now. They got all their cities around the world, the Satan buds. For I will rise up against them, saith Jehovah of armies, and then cut off from Babel the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith Jehovah. He's talking most likely against the daughter of Babylon, America here. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and the pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction. What's a besom? We don't use that word today. A broom. Okay, sweep it with a broom of destruction, saith Jehovah of hosts. That's America. Jehovah of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely I have thought so surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed, so shall it stand, that I will break the Assyrian in my land, that would be Israel's the land, and upon my mountains, tread him underfoot, then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. That's the foreign yoke coming off Israel. There's a domestic yoke from the government, and then the foreign yoke. And the rabbis are part of that domestic yoke. This, and they're in the government too, the ultra-Orthodox. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth. And this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations, all the heathen. For Jehovah of hosts has purposed, and who shall disannul? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? In the year that King Ahaz died was this burden. Rejoice not, thou whole Palestine, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. That's Satan. For Satan's rod. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. I guess that's allegorical analogies to some mythological being or something, I guess. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. That's right after Zechariah 12. And I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant. So the believers will slay Satan's remnant, and there's not going to be any heritage to his people. Howl, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Palestina art dissolved, for there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed time. Isaiah 14:32. What shall one then answer the messengers of the nations, that Jehovah hath founded Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in him? See, that's the poor and the feeble and the humble and the meek. They're the ones that pull through. That's a constant theme in the prophecies. The fat cattle that push against the lean cattle don't make it. Okay, let's go to Job 1. Verse 1. And there were born unto, I'm in verse 2, Job 1:1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name, where is Uz? Probably in Arabia or Saudi Arabia someplace. That's the thought. But we're always unsure about these things with any exact precision. And let's see. Man was perfect. The name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. 7 sons. File that away. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels. Now that's a ton of animals. And 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. Very wealthy, and he probably had a lot of servants to take care of all of this. And his sons went and feasted in their house, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasts were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus did Job he was continually making offerings for them. He was trying to play God has sons, and he was trying to play the grandson game. Many people do this today. They're all about the family and only the family, and that's what they get hung up on, and it's very bad to be that way. Your true brothers and sisters, like Yeshua said, are your fellow believers. So you've got to be careful about that, but it's very profound. Now, there was a day, there's a lot of people that don't partake in it, and there's a lot that do. That's what I should say. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before Jehovah, and Satan came also among them. So let's read this slowly. Now there was a day, and that should be Yom, which means a day, when the sons of God came to present themselves before Jehovah. And that word is ben, it means sons of God, which is what the two witnesses are called in Zechariah 4:14. The two anointed sons standing next to the Lord of the whole earth. They're two of God's sons. Satan was not a son of God. He was created being different than the Son. S-O-N, son. They came to present themselves before God. Let's see what present themselves means. Yitzav. Just appear before God, I guess. Probably for fellowship, to share, I don't know. Came to present themselves before God, before Jehovah, and Satan came also among them. So Satan was not one of the sons of God, yet he just barged in, like as if he was. And Jehovah said unto Satan, "Where comest thou?" We would say, "Where'd you come from?" I guess, right? Or whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Jehovah and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it." Satan was still up in heaven, obviously, but he was also able to go down to earth. And Jehovah said unto Satan, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God, and eschew evil," or like resents or rejects evil. Then Satan answered Jehovah and said, "Doth Job fear God for naught?" He was saying, does Job fear you for nothing, or fear God for Elohim for nothing? "Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face." See, he's crying out against the children of God. He's trying to get God to test them. And Jehovah said unto Satan, "Behold, all that thou hast is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thy hand." So Satan went forth from the presence of Jehovah. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating, this is Job's kids, and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. So they were partying, that was their routine. They probably had servants prepare the meal and wine, and they sat down and, gorged themselves and drank and had a good time. And said the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them. The Sabaeans, they would be from Africa, I think, fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is falleth from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out, that would be Babylonians, I think, out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. All this bad stuff all of a sudden is happening to him. And what was he doing? He was trying to stand in the gap for his kids. His kids weren't correctly balanced, and he was trying to offset that by making offerings and stuff for them. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only have escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose Verse 20, Job 1. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, that's mourning, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. Jehovah gave, and Jehovah hath taken away. Blessed be the name of Jehovah. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. So we can see Satan's early days here. We could go back and forth to heaven, what a piece of garbage he was and how mean and evil he was. He was garbage. Okay? And he still is. Because he practices evil. And he hates God and he hates God's people, because God's going to run the earth through his people. Okay? So that's what Satan wants to stop. He wants to stay in charge or control of the nations and keep conducting evil and destroying those that serve him and destroying, uh, anybody he can. He's just a terrible, he's just a terrible individual, or whatever you want to call him. He's a jerk. He's just evil. All right, so let me check the chat, and now we'll get into some more spiritual warfare type things and stuff like that. And let me make sure we don't have questions and garbage to throw out. Somebody's got us pegged as imposters of Jewishness or something. I just blocked them. They read the protocols as I am. Ridiculous people. Okay. They go into church, and how many of the prophets were Jewish? Most of them. Were the apostles Jewish? Yes. Was Yeshua Jewish? Yes. Are the two witnesses Jewish? Well, yeah, one's Apostle John, one's Elijah. And then they try to take the religion without the Jews and without Israel and without a temple and all this stuff. They're just so immature, you just can't really talk to them. They think they're believers and they're not. They're the synagogue of Satan is what they are. Yes, they are. They say they're Jews and they're not. That's the church. Who do you think it is? The rabbis? No, they're Jews. There are some fake rabbis that aren't Jewish, but I don't think that's what he's referencing. Could be, but I don't think it's it. It's the church. We'll cover that in a moment. All right, so now let's get moving. So we'll start cutting through the scriptures now. So it says that Job had 7 sons. Do we think that maybe God has 7 sons? Not angels, 7 sons, heavenly sons. Let's bring a few up and see if we think they may qualify, okay? Melchizedek, his days were without number, eternal life. Very likely. He was the high priest, so God trusted him with a great deal of things, which is what he does with his sons. Enoch, Very likely he walked with God and then he was no more. Very likely he went up to heaven, and Yeshua says nobody goes up to heaven unless they come down from him. Elijah, ditto, went up to heaven in a whirlwind, so he's one of the two sons of God. Mentioned in Zechariah 4:14. Apostle John, yes. Moses, yes, I think Moses was one also. And Yeshua. And then that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So who would fill spot number 7? Joseph? Not too sure it would be him. It's hard to say. Could it be the glory of God of Israel that he put his name in? Could be. I think that's it. By putting his name in him, he brought him in to him. Not more like an adopted son from the angels. That's what I think. Okay? My thought. But we're not told. We're not told. So I don't know. Ephesians 6:11. Ephesians. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So this is using the tools that God gave us. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand. Don't give ground. You don't run away from Satan, you stand. But to make that work, you have to not be living in sin or running around sinning, because then you give place to the devil. Like Yeshua said, the devil found nothing in me, no place in him. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with the truth. Now, the truth is the true gospel. When you have the phony gospels of the churches and the rabbis and stuff, well, the rabbis don't have the New Testament, so forget that. When you got the true gospel, it's not the church gospel. It's their gospel is markedly different, and their behavior is markedly against the scriptures. So when you have the church doctrine, you don't have your loins girt about with truth, and you're not going to be able to stand against the devil. Okay? It ain't gonna work. And that's why they fall prey to him and believe his garbage. And having on the breastplate of righteousness, well, if you don't have the true gospel, you're not going to walk in righteousness. You don't know what it is. They wipe their feet on the Sabbath. They don't observe the Sabbath. Not only did they don't observe it, they moved it to Sunday. It's ridiculous. Sunday in the Hebrew is the first day of the week, not the Sabbath, which is the last day. Crazy. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. They don't have the gospel of peace. They have another gospel. 2 Corinthians 11:4. They have another gospel, another Jesus, and they receive another spirit, which is an unclean spirit. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Well, that's thoughts. The thoughts are Satan throws thoughts at you. Hey, why don't you get a bottle of scotch? Hey, why don't you go smoke a joint? Hey, why don't you go lay up with that person outside of marriage? Hey, why don't you rob that? Hey, just tell him a lie. You know, that's how he works on you. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. You fight with the Spirit, with the sword of the Spirit, the Word of God. They don't have that. They don't understand it. Mark 16:16 or 16:17. These signs shall follow all those that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. They don't do that in the churches. They don't do it. They're not believers. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching whereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. We wrestle not with flesh and blood. You see the Satan bots talk about, well, what's Biden doing? What's the UN doing? What's the ICJ court doing? What's Netanyahu doing? What's this? What's Putin doing? Right? They don't open up the prophecies and show you how that fits with the current events like I do, because they're not in the Spirit. They don't have the true gospel. They couldn't possibly do it. Impossible for them. And their hearts and minds are on the flesh. Like that guy that was just here. You know, you're not Ashkenazi, you're not this, you're not that. Well, you know, he's protocol of Zion. He understands that satanic doctrine, but he doesn't understand the Bible. They can't understand the Bible. They never will. Watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints, and for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak, but that you also may know my affairs and how I do Titius, a beloved brother and faithful minister of the Lord, shall make known to you all things, whom I have sent unto you for the same purpose, that you might know our affairs, and that might be comfort your hearts. Peace be to the brethren, and love with faith from God the Father and the Lord, God the Father and the Lord Yeshua HaMashiach. Grace be with thee, all them that love our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach in sincerity. Amen. To the Ephesians, written from Rome by Tychius. So Tychius actually wrote this, but the church will tell you Paul. But a long time ago tried to stop deciphering the convoluted lies of the churches. Okay, 1 Peter 5:8. See, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but the powers of the air. We use our spiritual warfare, demon tossing, and binding them spiritually, from stopping them from doing things. We can tread over all the power of the enemy. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, which the 2 billion people that go to the various churches don't do. It's in the scriptures, but they'll mock me without using the scriptures, because they can't use the scriptures. Okay, where was I going first? 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Okay? Lions go after the babies of the flock, who don't know any better, can't defend themselves, easy picking. That's what Satan does. As soon as somebody comes to the faith, his system is designed, they'll probably roll into a church, and then he starts destroying them. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Yeshua, Yeshua HaMashiach, really, after that you have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Okay. You gotta stay out of sin, or this stuff's not gonna work. I mean, you can still demon toss and stuff, but you gotta keep yourself from the devil. It's on you. 1 John 3:8. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Man, the Son of God, was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin, for his seed remain in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. In this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. The word, it doesn't mean you're never going to sin. There's the concept of a trespass offering and a sin offering. It means you're not going to intentionally set out to go sin. Someone says, come on, you don't have any money, grab your gun, we'll go rob a bank. You're not going to do that. You're not going to intentionally step out and sin. That's what it's saying. The ones that do that and then say, oh, I'll go back and repent tomorrow, they're generally not believers. You'll see they do this over and over and over again. John 8:44. And then a lot of them ask God to take their free will away and stop them from sinning, and God generally doesn't do that, because he wants you to pay the price and show that you want to be with him and his child, not the other way around. You got to put the energy into it. You are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of it. So one of the attributes of them is lying. Another one you'll find is cursing, because out of the mouth what comes from the heart. They'll curse a lot. Okay? 2 Corinthians 11, I think it's 14, let's find out. 2 Corinthians 11, let's try 14. Yeah. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Ministers of righteousness is your pastors and your rabbis. That's who they are. They're not teaching righteousness. They're making you think that they're teaching righteousness, but they're not. They're sucking you in. That's what they do. That's Satan coming as an angel of light. Sucking him in. I'm going to take a break for a minute. I'll be right back. So, we read Satan steals the word out of their heart. So if you're going to witness to somebody, can kick the unclean spirits out of this person, and then tell them not to interfere with your witnessing or steal the word again or something like that? Sure, but you can't make people come to heaven. God draws them to the Son, Yeshua, then the Son reveals the Father to them. You can't take that place. Okay? Does that mean you don't try? No. It's not given to us at this time to know who's going to be in the kingdom and who's not. Okay? So, you can do all these things, but it's not going to bear fruit unless it's from God. You can't do spiritual warfare or prayer against God's will. It just doesn't work. He might want unclean spirits in some person to teach them a lesson or to punish them. See, the children of the devil think it's a blessed thing to have an unclean spirit in them, especially a high-ranking one. It's a curse. They're so deceived, they see curses as blessings. And this is who runs the world. They don't really run the world. They're the heads of their states, of their countries. That's what I should have said. God runs the world. And are they idiots? Yeah. They're complete idiots. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. They don't have a fear of the Lord. And then they fall prey to all of Satan's crackpot ideas and doctrines. And they serve him gladly. And then they wind up in the lake of fire. Satan is such a dead end. It's unbelievable. It says they're led like beasts to the slaughter. The animal doesn't know you're going to sacrifice until it happens, and they even don't understand it very well then. So, it's the same thing with the people that serve Satan. They don't really understand that Satan's killing them, eternally and lying to them. And you're not going to convince them, because they're under a deception, they're under a curse because of what they've done. They think serving Satan is a good thing. They get the things of the world. The houses, the cars, the clothes, the money, the recognition of men. All this is over in a short time, like grass. That's what they throw their eternity away for. They like the evil, they like the wickedness. They think they're going to have eternal life, or they wouldn't do it, would they? The churches think they're going to have eternal life too. That's Satan's general theme. He copies from Jehovah. Okay? The Buddhists think they're evolved, the Hindus, the Muslims, all these religions, the Catholics, they all think this. It's Satan copycatting from the Word of God, the Word of the Lord. Now, we do spiritual warfare, and if we had, let's say, I had 300,000 subscribers, and let's say um, 3,000 of them did spiritual warfare, the world would be a different place to live. Let's say 30,000, it would be radically different. You can make Satan weary. I think you can. He makes us weary. You can reap what you sow. So you just go make him weary. Wrestle with the powers of the air and tread over all their power. Kick them out of people. Bind them. Loose people from their influence. He wouldn't like that. Wear him out. He could only be in one place at one time. I don't believe Satan could communicate with multiple people at the same time, from what I know. No. He has to go appear to them or be near them, and he communicate. Well, he could hear their calling to him, but I don't think he could communicate back with them unless he gets in their presence. See, the people that serve him have no faith. He has to be appearing to them. They can see him, hear him, and then they get, oh, okay. Faith is, believing in things not seen. His people don't work that way. They got to see the unclean spirit. So he appears to them, but they don't understand they can change their appearance. Like Yeshua did when he was walking after the resurrection, and he made himself look like one person, and then he changed his appearance to who he truly was. Satan can do stuff like that. He also, as far as I know, can appear to. I'm not sure about this, but I believe he could go into a room and only those that are his would see him. I don't really care that much about him. It's all going to be over shortly. A few more weeks and it's going to go down in memory lane. Okay. We continue. James 4:7. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And that's what happened when he tried to suck Yeshua in, worship me, I'll give you all these kingdoms, And Yeshua resisted by quoting scripture. And he fled, and that's what will happen with you. You don't have to quote scripture to him, just ignore him. Or if he's harassing you, cry out to the Lord for help. Just go, Father, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, some unclean spirit is bothering me, help me, and he'll get rid of them. That's a positive reaction. Back to the Garden of Eden. The serpent tells Eve all this stuff. Did God really say this or that to you? Let's say Eve said, Jehovah, I'm confused. The serpent is telling me different than what you told me, and I don't know what I should do right now. Please help me. What would have happened? The fall never would have happened. Jehovah would have straightened her out. The serpent would have got his butt kicked, and there wouldn't have been a fall. All she had to do was turn to the Lord. Now, if someone comes to you and says, fornicate with me, and you start thinking about whether or not you should do it. Oh, it's okay to do it, God's love and we love each other, or some nonsense like that. Now, for that, why do you gotta call the Lord? You know it's wrong. You just resist, you know. You could call on the Lord and He would help you, I believe. Okay. But for stupid things, let's say you're riding in a car with some guy, you're a believer, and the other person's not. This guy cuts you off. Shoot him, blow his head off. We'll get away with it. And you don't do that. The more mature you get in the Lord, the more you walk correctly, the harder and harder it is for Satan to get to you. Because the people don't know how to get to you that serve him. And that's his tool, is people. But he'll wear you down, by making your life hard. That's not driving you into sin, that's just making your life hard. Like neighbors serving the unclean spirit, they start disturbing you. Loud music or something like that. People that bother you in traffic on the freeways, unclean spirit serving people that have demons will frequently do that to somebody with the Holy Spirit. The demon points them out, and they'll start bothering you. Toss them. If someone's bothering you, toss them. And command the unclean spirits not to explain anything to the person before they leave or after they leave. So make it particularly scary for the person. And the great Revelation 12:9, the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. And he was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Was cast out. It happened past tense. He's out of heaven. Okay? He deceives the whole world. They're all in deception. Or I wouldn't be serving that jackass. He's treacherous. He eternally kills those that love him. He's a sick, twisted one. Romans 16:20. And the God of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly. The grace of our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach be with you. And bruise Satan under your feet. You shall tread over all the power of the enemy. That's in Luke 10. Maybe verse 12 or 17, something like that. All right, tread over all the power of the enemy. Bruise Satan under your feet. You see it? Satan's tool is people that he deceives and manipulates. When you take away his forces, he has nothing left. He's not calling fire and brimstone down on people. He deceives and lies and twists and turns people to get them to do his bidding. That's how it works. It's really more a work in the flesh than a spiritual work. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 4. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Messiah, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. There's a lot here. The God of this world Satan, he blinds the minds of them which believe not. When you believe not the true gospel, you're in sin and you're giving place to the devil. It's easy. Then he can start blinding them and deceiving them, and they'll receive his lies. They believe not. What is it that they don't believe? The true gospel. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine on them. Luke 10:28. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right. This do, is this the right words? I must have made a mistake here. Let me see. Yeah, it's 18. Luke 10:18. And he said unto them, I beheld. That's past tense. It happened in the past. I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, tread underfoot. That's it. And nothing shall by any means hurt you. Satan can't do any retaliation against you. Notwithstanding in this, rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. Okay, the spirits are subject unto you. How many people in the church are aware of this? Well, does it really apply to them because they run around with a phony gospel? No. But they're unto you. They got to listen to you. Remember that? Okay. It's very painful to them if they disregard a biblical command from you. They can't resist it. They have to do it. Ephesians 4:27. Ephesians 4. 27. Neither give place to the devil. Okay, you can't give place to the devil, then you start suffering for it. That's a fundamental truth. Matthew 16:23. But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan, Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. He said, get thou behind me, Satan. He says, get out of, what he's saying in English is, get out of my way. And how did he say it? Let's look at this again. But he turned and said unto Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. See, he turned to Peter. And it says he even said unto Peter. But he was addressing Satan. And what it really says is, turned, said, Peter. Yeah, the English is probably correct. Get thee behind me, Satan. So he was actually speaking to the devil, the unclean spirit in the person, and told them what to do. When Paul was being harassed by the woman that was a slave, she had an unclean spirit. And she was following them around, including Paul, saying these men are teaching the truth. Well, she was saying that because she wanted believers to gravitate to her. And then she would say, well, I'll tell your fortune for you, or I'm a soothsayer, I'll tell you your future. And she'd read tea leaves or the lines on her hand or whatever the heck she was going to do, right? And, get money out of them. So Paul knew what she was doing, so he just got mad and he looked at her like here, what Yeshua did, but he said to the spirit, I command you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, come out from this woman. And he came out, the unclean spirit came out that very hour. So in my experience, it may take a few seconds, that's about it. And an hour later would be excessively long. I don't remember things happening like that. Revelation 20, verse 10. You really gotta not be afraid of the devil. You can't really destroy him if you're afraid of him, And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. That's Satan's future. Okay? He's a complete loser, as are his servants. They're people that get tricked into sin and don't know any better. They live a sinful life. They think it's a good life and blah, 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 false religions, whatever. There's others that communicate openly with the unclean spirits, know who they are and all that, and that's way, way, way more evil. Punishments will be much worse for that. Revelation 12, 9 to 12. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth. See, this is past tense. It already happened. And his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud noise saying in heaven, now is come the salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them he accused him before our God day and night. He was constantly going to God and, accusing them of being no good in that and trying to get God to test them and make trouble for them and all that. He's just that bad. Okay? It's evil personified, you might say, something like that. John 12:31. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. So he was cast out like roughly 2,000 years ago or something like that, right? It says, now shall the prince of this world be cast out. So or maybe he's referencing he's going to be kicked out of the earth into the lake of fire, but Satan was out of heaven for a long, long time. Don't let the church goofs convince you he's still in heaven. Luke 11:18. If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because you say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. So is Satan's kingdom divided? Yeah, they're fighting against each other. Look at the United States, look at all the countries. It's got no unity, no one world order, no nothing, no one world religion, nothing. It's all fighting with each other. Satan's house will not stand. That's how God does it according to his word. Revelation 12:4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. He wanted to get Yeshua dead immediately. Jealousy. Luke 11:18. Oh, I think we just did this. Okay. Matthew 4. Matthew 4 verse 1. Then was Yeshua led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and that's a long fast, he was afterward hungered. And when the tempter, Satan, came to him, how is he referred to as a tempter? He tempts you, throws darts at you, gives you thoughts, gets your mind on doing something evil. If you just keep your mind off it, you're not going to do it. If you just keep your mind off it, you won't do it. Just don't think about it and you won't do it. When you start thinking about it, that's when you're going to get closer to doing it. Don't think about it, just push it out of your mind. It's sin, don't do it. He said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Devil didn't like that. Yeshua wasn't playing the game with him. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Yeshua said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt Jehovah Adonai. Or Jehovah thy God. Again the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith, now remember, God would call the sons of God to appear before him, and Satan. Satan knew Yeshua in heaven. He knew Elijah, he knew Apostle John, he knew all of them. Yet he tries to deceive Yeshua. He's taken with himself. It didn't work. Then saith Yeshua unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. The devil departs from you. Resist the devil, and he'll go away from you. That's what happened with Yeshua. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, to know that I have loved thee. Okay, let's see. Trying to think here. So we covered this earlier. Synagogue of Satan could be the churches. They think that when it says the Jews, it would mean that they think they're the chosen people. It could have other meanings too, but in any event, these false ones are going to wind up worshiping at your feet, licking the dust off your feet. Acts 13:10. Acts 13:10. And said, O full of all subtlety and all mischief, thou child of the devil, thou enemy of all righteousness, wilt thou not cease to pervert the right ways of the Lord? And now, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thee, and thou shalt be blind, not seeing the sun for a season. And immediately there fell on him a mist and a darkness, and he went about seeking some to lead him by the hand. See, they don't stop. So Paul stopped them. He put the blindness on them. Or the Lord did it and told Paul he was going to do it, or probably Paul had a part in this. So putting the blindness on this guy is a testimony, a witness that he was doing evil. And then you would want to see if the guy repents, or if he just gets his sight back and goes back to doing evil again. You don't know. We're not told. We'll be able to do things like that soon. This was done when it was still day and the man could still work. But after 70 AD, it would be at that point, I assume, man could not work. And it started a little bit, but it's got to spread. Okay, so these are some, remember Yeshua said, greater signs than these you shall do. So we'll probably all be doing things like that. They're going to be in great fear of us. And we're in Luke 22:31. And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. You could pray for someone, a child, a friend, a family, I don't know, whatever, that their faith not fail them. You could do that easily. You can pray they get more faith. But they got to walk right. You can't do it for them. Okay? They got to do it for themselves. You could pray for them and all that, but they got to do it for themselves. It's free will. They got to show they want to do it, and they got to do it. Okay? You can't usher people in any other way. Matthew 13:38. The field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and that's Zechariah 12, the end of the age starts the second 70 years of Daniel. And the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the time of the end of this age. It doesn't say world, it says Ion, A-I-O-N in English. It means age. The Son of Man will send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do lawlessness, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be a wailing and a gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Shine. The kingdom of their Father. Rise, shine, your light is come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. There it is, Isaiah 60, verse 1. Revelation 2, I don't remember the verse, let's go there. Revelation 2, I think this is the synagogue of Satan, let's see. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. So he runs the courts with Satan bots and the prisons and the military and the police. Okay. Cast some of you into prison that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Okay, so they don't stay in jail forever. Okay? Okay. Let me see what else I got here. All right, let me see if we have any questions in the chat. Somebody's putting up here talking about people. I don't know what he's talking about. Wormwood did not happen yet. That's the mountain, I believe. My grandmother, yeah, right. We fell for that, yeah. Okay, so I hope I gave you some insights. Do your spiritual warfare. What you'll find is it builds your faith up. It really does. Just start with simple demon tossing. I command you unclean spirits to come out of John Doe and Jane Doe now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Do whoever you want. Get politicians, generals, local government, national government, world government, anything you want to go after. Heads of industry, whatever. Church people. Just have a good time. Nothing shall harm you. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about it. Do it in the comfort of your living room. It works over long distances. It's spirit. It's not limited by distance. It's not limited if the person speaks Portuguese and you don't. Because you're not talking to them. You're talking to the unclean spirits, and any language is going to work. Okay. They're not restricted by the language, so you can get any of them. It's going to build your faith. If you want to build your faith, I'm telling you how. If you don't care, well, you don't care. Okay? So, please pray for me. My hip started bothering me again. It got better, then it didn't get better, then it got worse. I don't know. Please keep praying for my hip and pray for my eyes to keep improving. It's working. Pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for our offerings to go up, our finances, and pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and pray for better videos, and we get more insights, more sense of timing of these end times events. Okay? So I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Today went long, didn't it? Almost 3 hours. Okay, I'm out, guys. Thanks.